Hey, welcome back. Hey, I got something new to show you guys. So let's see here. We got the new, I have a new 8-inch quad that I just built, and I'm going to show you how to build it. So here it is, my 8-inch quad. DJI O3 air unit. Has the T-Motor F7 SE stack. So it has a flight controller with a matching T-Motor ESC running 50 amps. So I'll show you how to build it. I just have to let you know, there's fair warning. This is not a beginner video. I'm not going to show you how to solder. I'm not going to show you any basic skills. Just a little bit of building magic. We'll call it that. So, hope you enjoy it. So we're starting off with a T-Motor F7 SE stack. Has an FC and the 50 amp ESC. For the motors, we're using a T-Motor 1308 1350 kV. For the camera system, we're using the DJI O3 air unit. Here's the camera, and here's the air unit. We replaced the antenna with a 145 millimeter Flyfish long-range antenna that replaces the DJI antenna. For the receiver, we're using a Nano RX TBS Crossfire for long-range flights. For the GPS, we're using a Flyboy M10 GPS. This has the latest technology and can catch satellites really quick. And we're using it together with the VI Fly GPS mate. And this one has a beeper. And yeah, this is my my fancy little GoPro mount. Has all the colors so you could see it. Thanks to Brain 3D. So the battery I'll be using is a dark lithium ion battery. It's 4200 milliamps, 6S, has 30C, and it's huge and it's heavy, and it weighs 426 grams. So let's talk about the frame. So this frame is from AMAX Shop. I got this frame because it's a simple frame, and it doesn't have. It has just a regular setup. It has a lot of space, has a lot of room, has really thick arms, and a really thick plate too. The plate in the back isn't as thick as I wanted it to be. That's why in the back I put a little foot in the back, so that way when you put it down and you add pressure on it, it's not going to bend it. It'll tend to bend here because this back plate's a little thin, in my opinion. But the arms are really thick, so it's a pretty good frame. It's not. I was really looking more for space, so I can upgrade this, especially with the air unit. The air unit needs a lot of space because it tends to get hot. And as you can see, I've already built it maybe 20%. The motors still have to be. These motors still have to be soldered on. Most of the FC on here are going to be plugged. So if you can see here, I have the plugs in the back. So here I have this back plug to the O3 air unit. I always put the power for the O3 air unit to VBAT because I've had power problems before and it's worked so many times. I just don't want to use anything different. The plug, I tried it, it's okay, but I believe the only way to get the full power is if you arm the quad, which I'm not there yet. So I'd rather just have it on the bench. I could still plug it in and make it work. So here I have the capacitor stuck on there. I have the O3 air unit stuck into the positive of the ESC. For the transmitter, I'll be using this plug which is going to be UART 3. As far as the GPS, using the VI Fly, the GPS mate, I'm going to have to use these UARTs. Let's see, which is UART 5, and I'll connect that, probably put it somewhere in the arms and stick it there. And then I have another power cord going here and powering up my LEDs. So right now I've got that onto here, and of course I'll have my ground back here connecting through the back. I did kind of a little connection here to get both LEDs, so now I have two lights in the back, so it'll be pretty bright when I turn it on. There you go. These are super bright. So for this GPS, there's the 3D printer has room for the GPS. Now this Flywoo has an interesting little connection. You have to press it before you take it out. I mean, that really works good, but considering how this is, it's pretty well seated onto the 3D print. We'll pull this out a little bit. Okay, ground's inside. Maybe feed this wire through. It's not quite fitting unless I go this way. Yeah, that's one good thing. Don't use a metal tool, you're gonna put a hole in your wire. So I got it to go through, but I ended up damaging the corner of the plug, so I just have to replace the plug. Be right back. Now I have a new cord. I ended up replacing the wires because it weakened the connection and the wire wouldn't stay together. Then I'll show you another trick. So if you take this wire and you take this GPS and you tap it 3 times, 1, 2, 3. So there you have it. The GPS gets stuck right on the TPU. So now I remove the FC so we could start installing the ESCs. So here we're at this corner. Let's measure this out. So this particular wire should go here. So a cool method that I like to use is this. So you take this, you kind of lift it up, and like that. That's wire number 1. Now let's look at wire number 2. We'll have it set up here. Just line it up, and wire number 2. Now let's do wire number 3. Let's line it up, and wire number 3. So here's another trick. Look at that, that. Let's do the other side. Now let's do these wires and see if we could do all 3 at once. So grab all 3 wires, and there's motor number 2. Line them all up, make sure they're straight. Kind of do like this. Make sure they're straight, and motor number 3 on. Make sure all 3 wires are in line with the arm. So you go and you cover it up. Wires are on. Oh, one more step. And there you go, the motors are done. Okay, let's put the flight controller back on. Now I have the flight controller on, and I have the DJI mounted. I use double stick tape just because it's easier and you don't have to make any holes. Now I just have the double stick tape on. I just have to zip tie it. Now I have my zip tie on, just got to cut it. It's a bit long. Just cut it right about here. Just make sure I don't I don't block the USB-C port, which is somewhere out there, and we're good. So now we just have to plug this in. So now we have this in. So now we have this in. The DJI is on. This is the Crossfire, this is the antenna. We're going to plug it into UART 3. So we're just going to plug it in here. Got the board upside down. So we've got the TX, RX, ground, and 5 volt into UART 3. And you don't want to snap that off. So you always want to put pressure on the corners. That's probably the strongest points without damaging anything. So here we have the Nano plugged in. We'll flip it back over. So put this in like that. So that's in, that's good. So what I plan to do is probably just double stick tape it here. I'll zip tie it here on this arm. That's been the best way to do it on my other quads. It has good reception. Twisting the wires till it's short enough. Then we just want to make sure the bind button is sticking up, because we will need that. Throw this into here. We could tuck the wires right there. So here I have the receiver installed with antenna here. Now this antenna is a little bit long and it's kind of protruding down here at the bottom. So I'm just going to add an additional zip tie. Doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to keep it from going down. Just like that. This should work. The only thing left we have to do is install the GPS. So I went ahead and bound the receiver with a controller, and it worked out pretty good, except there was a few firmware issues. So now it's connected. I didn't want to go through that process. It's just it's like I said, this isn't a beginner series type of a installation. It's more of just an installation for the T-Motor flight controller. So here we have the GPS connected. We have the GPS connected back here, and it's connected to ViFly GPS Mate right here. GPS Mate. Yeah, I've used this several times and it works really well. So I ran the wire here. It was a little bit short. The connector is rather interesting. It doesn't really plug in. It has a little clip, so it clips onto the GPS. So if you mess up that connector, you kind of have to find a way to make it work. In my case, I had to put a new connector to make it work. And now the wire is pretty short. I soldered it into the GPS Mate. There's some pads back there. It was a lot easier instead of plugging it in. So now I just have to take these wires and put it into the flight controller. I already have let's see if I have this. So I already have the pads ready. I have the pads here. These are the pads for the ground, TX, RX, and the 5 volt. And then this yellow wire goes up here into the buzz negative. So that way when you use it as a beeper, your motors will beep and so will the buzzer. And plus when you try to look for it too, it just makes it louder and gives you a better chance to find your quad if you ever lose it. So we're going to do it the quick and easy way. This way we're going to just tap it like this. And look at that. The GPS is on. So I looped this wire around here and then I connected the corresponding wires. Got the 5 volt ground, RX and TX. And then the yellow wire is going around this way to the buzz negative. So the best way to check it, of course, is to plug it in, and you can see how much it's going to beep and light up. So we're going to plug this in with our stopper, smoke stopper. Learn it the hard way. Yeah, sometimes you need to learn the hard way to get a smoke stopper. So I'm going to press the button and it'll start beeping like crazy. So now you know it works. Now I just got to put it together and finish it up. Looks like we have pretty much everything complete. And I think we're ready to put on the top plate. And this top plate is pretty neat. So what I did was I put a little bit of Velcro on the top. It's one of those, the sticky Velcros. So that way you have the Velcro on there and then also the battery strap. So that way it doesn't slip off while you're flying. It's been really good, it works really well. And the neat thing about this, this top plate is it's magnetic. Watch. So all you do is you just line up the holes. Just here, there's a few holes here and there. And watch. Look at that. Magnetic top plate. Now our next step is to put on the new magnetic GoPro mount. See, let's see if this works. Let's line it up here real quick. Put it on. And look at that. It's on. Magnetic TPU. There you have it. 8-inch killer drone. Complete. Actually, I lied. What's a drone without props? Let's put on some props. Look at that. Props are ready. Let's take it for a spin. Whoa. So as I mentioned before, this won't be a beginner video. Before I took off for flight, I did do some beta flight configuration. And what I did was I did a little shortcut. I went into the presets and copied my 6-inch quad configuration and just copied it into my 8-inch quad configuration. And that way everything's set up, the receiver's set up, the OSD's set up. You don't have to mess with anything, the GPS is set up. You just have to mess around with the switches, that's all. The UART switches. And after that, you're good to go. I just had to do some minor tuning, and that's it. So that's what I did. Hope you enjoy the flight. The GoPro mount was not good. Crap. So we're back on the bench, and well, you saw the crash, and here's the GoPro mount. So the bad part of the GoPro mount, I usually use a solid type of GoPro mount, but for some reason this was the only option I had without doing customization. So this was together like this, and when I had the GoPro on, it felt very wobbly. It was moving around quite a bit, and I was thinking to myself, that's going to be a weak point right there. You can even see it too. It's so small and so thin. I don't know, I messed up. The battery was not put on correctly, so the battery flew out. But I wasn't very high up. But once the GoPro hit the ground, this snapped right off, and that's never happened with any of my quads. This was the other way to do it. You put it on here. The thing is, it's not steel, it's kind of plastic, and that could also break off. And I've heard of other people have that problem as well, so I think the fixed version is a lot better. And that's what that's the version I'm going to go with. So I have this backup for now while making, this is my backup TPU. It'll be the same thing, but this time if it breaks, it breaks. So anyway, oh, and my antenna broke. Maybe you saw it. I'll have to show you a picture. So I just put some E6000 glue. I think it's holding pretty well. I think by tomorrow it should be solid. Right now it's pretty good. It's not moving, so I'm trying to put it back together. Okay, she's back together. Let's take it for another spin.
Telemetry lost. 20 seconds. 10, 9.